Hello there, and welcome back to Hydroponics Daily, your go-to podcast for everything soilless cultivation. I am your host, Dr. Russell Sharp, the founder of Eutrema Limited, a company that makes truly unique fertilizers, biostimulants, and biopesticides that you won't find anywhere else. The technology is completely unique. And today, the topic of the podcast is what I would do if I was faced with a virus in my crop, specifically a crop where you want to protect the genetic material and you can't just throw the plants away. Often when we say when you've got a virus, the first thing you should do is just destroy all plant material. But what if you've got a strain, a variety, a cultivar that only you've got or is protected or is endangered, or you need it for a breeding program or something like that, and you need to get rid of the virus? What are you going to do? You can't give plants tamiflu. That technology is not available. You can't just wait for their immune system to fight the virus off because they don't have immune systems. And so there's only really one option that I'm aware of, and that's heat treatment. So when you're planting out cuttings, tubers, bulbs, or seeds, immersing them in hot water for a defined period can help with virus control. So we're talking about temperatures of 45 to 55 degrees Celsius. So you wouldn't keep plants. Not many plants would live at that sort of temperature. They would soon die off, especially unless the humidity was really, really high. But the duration of which you give this treatment is only like 10 to 60 minutes. So in crops that's regularly, perennial crops, herbaceous perennial crops, where they regularly suffer from viruses like sugarcane, sweet potato, banana, even grapevines and some ornamentals, you can do this and with success and control viruses. And you're best obviously doing it with smaller plants, because the smaller the plants, the more effective the treatment will be because of just the temperature profiles and things like that. Now, obviously, there's a big challenge there. It could be phytotoxic. It could just kill your plants from the heat. But with a bit of experimentation, you could find what is the sweet spot for your particular plant. And in fact, if I was going to do this, if I had a plant that I needed to control the viruses, I would do it until the plant breaks. So I would get maybe 100 cuttings from a virus-infected plant, and I'd treat 10 at, what did I say the temperature was? 45 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes, and then all the way up to 10 that would be treated at 55 degrees Celsius for 60 minutes. No idea what that is in Fahrenheit. Apologies for our American listeners, but it's pretty warm. It's sort of like steam room temperature. So I would do a range and find out at what point did the plants die, and just go slightly below that and really, really stress it because you don't want any virus particles in that new plant, because it will be a source of infection and you will not get a chance to do this twice, really. So obviously seeds is the easiest, but very rarely you're going to want to do that. It's after that, tubers, something dormant, a bulb, they're going to be much more tolerant of those high temperatures, whereas a cutting is probably going to be the most sensitive. But I would do it until it breaks. If you're prepared to lose a few cuttings, you could do it on unrooted cuttings and rooted cuttings. I'd probably start with rooted cuttings, see if you could get away with it, because severely stressing a cutting that's not rooted and then trying to get it to root, you're in for a bad case there, because you really struggle, because all the cells are going to be weak and stressed from that heat treatment. So I'd do it on rooted cuttings, newly rooted cuttings, not too much grow media around them. Okay, so that would be my suggestion. And what are the success rates? If you're doing it on seeds, the sort of typical virus elimination you can achieve is 60 to 90%. Whole plant cure rate, typically around 50%. So you may need to screen the plants and quarantine and destroy any plants that are not completely successful. Micropropagation as well. There's often a technique that's used in micropropagation because these plants are so much smaller than a normal cutting and a normal plant that you can quickly get them to the temperature and then back down again quickly. Whereas a large corm or bulb or tuber, you could thinking getting the center of that tuber to 50 degrees Celsius means much longer, and the outside temperature will have to be a lot warmer. So yeah, that's probably going to be lower success rate there. What else can we say? This is the term is thermotherapy, by the way. So what else can we say about it? You can do it on whole plants, large plants, but you would probably need a grow room dedicated to it with a sort of a temperature of high 30s, probably early 40s for 2 to 6 weeks. That's a lot of heat if you're not in a tropical or arid area. But if you've got fruit trees, large fruit trees, ornamentals that are just infected, then it might be worth it for targeting systemic viruses and preserving the whole plant structure rather than going back down to cuttings and starting it all over again. The heat stress will reduce the vigor and survival of the plants. You'll probably get some scorching on the leaves and things like that. So if it's an ornamental plant, you might reduce that. The success rates for whole plant thermotherapy are lower, so 30 to 70% virus elimination. And, just because the temperatures are lower, so the virus isn't exposed to such a high temperature. And maybe this is why, when you get a virus like a cold or a flu, your body heats up because viruses don't like high temperatures. But, tropical plants still get viruses. So I'd imagine this is harder to do on tropical plants and easier to do on temperate plants because tropical plants are going to be exposed to these high temperatures anyway, and the viruses will be adapted to them. It will depend on the virus and its genetics, because even though they're not alive, they have genetics, they have genes, whether that's RNA or DNA. So the virus biology will have an effect. And the host tolerance, the ability to withstand those high temperatures will be key, and the precise treatment. I would probably do a water bath, would probably be the easiest way to do it with cuttings. Now, a water bath you can set to a set temperature and dunk them in. What's that thing they use in kitchens? Is it bain-marie when they're cooking steaks? Very precise temperatures. You could potentially use one of those as well. Or if you failed in that, a pot on a stove or something in an oven, some water in an oven that could get the plants to 50 degrees Celsius root uniformly. So you don't want to put them in dry heat in an oven because they're exposed to all sorts of temperatures there. Definitely don't just put them in an oven. Definitely use a water bath for cuttings and things like that. So that would be my top tip. Just sort of Google there, you can pick up a bain-marie for like 100, 140 pounds. So that's not a lot considering the value. If you're going to go to these lengths, then the value of these plants must be considerable if you're going to spend the time and effort to try and eliminate viruses from them. And potentially, with virus testing getting better and better and more, what's the word I'm looking for, accessible, you could potentially have a nice little hydroponic business selling certified virus-free, heat-treated cuttings. That could be one of the things. If in your industry, cuttings, there's a business in selling cuttings, and you're looking for a unique selling point, then potentially you could say our cuttings are all heat-treated and checked for viruses before they leave the nursery, and that could be a really good small little venture, little bootstrapped hydroponic company to get you going, up and running, selling cuttings and propagation material. Anyway, that's been Hydroponics Daily for today. If you found it interesting, please do give us an Apple podcast review because it does help spread the word of hydroponics with the wider horticultural gardening community and scientific community. If you're not on Apple, just make sure you follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. We've got about 14 episodes left of 2025. I've done an episode every day, even when it's been tough. And today was a very tough day because I was locked out of my car in the middle of nowhere in the rain. It took me 3 hours and a long journey in an Uber and back in my wife's car to get my car recovered. And yet I haven't eaten anything all afternoon, but I've made sure I've got this podcast to you. And if that is dedication, if that isn't dedication, I don't know what is. So give us a podcast review. That'd be amazing. And at the very least, check out eutrema.co.uk for all your amazing fertilizers, biostimulants, and biopesticides. None of our products control viruses because you can't control a virus. You have to either destroy your plants or heat treat them. You can use insecticides to prevent the spread of aphids, which transfer the viruses. We don't sell insecticides. We sell an insecticidal soap, and that's about it. So, yeah, that's been Hydroponics Daily for today. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you again tomorrow.